I want you to look at this footage and tell me what this player is doing wrong.
What? I don't understand what's going on here.
Did you get it? It's fine if you didn't. It isn't necessarily the most obvious thing in the world, but trust me when I say this, there is something that player is fundamentally doing wrong. They're playing a Retribution Paladin in World of Warcraft retail, which, and I know where you're coming from, isn't the thing that they're fundamentally doing wrong either. For those that don't know, Retribution Paladins use a big weapon to slap their enemies around and do holy related things. Honestly, insofar as class fantasy is concerned, Retribution Paladin really kind of nails the vibe it's going for quite well. Nowadays, a Ret Paladin is one of the best, worst classes that you can have in any real group content. They come with a lot of utility that helps the group stay alive during high damage phases. They have a lot of control options to help manage large mob packs. They have a huge amount of self-sustain and they deal considerable damage. Certainly not the highest, but considerable. They're also a friggin' holy warrior of the light! So naturally a lot of new players, or returning ones, might see that and think, cool, I want to do that. Or more likely, given that a lot of players change class on the regular, they see Ret Paladin as easy to pick up and play in basically all forms of content. It's also a pretty strong choice in PvP, apparently. I don't do PvP as I still retain the ability to find happiness and fulfillment in my life. So I got the idea for this, I'll call it diatribe, after a conversation with some folks that I regularly play World of Warcraft with, and after seeing Jimmy's travel vlogs of his first foray into the game. You can and should watch those. Jimmy's a fine upstanding gentleman. Once, I said hi to him in old school RuneScape, and he said hi to me back, and we've been best friends ever since. So, the title of this here diatribe, New Players Shouldn't Play Retail World of Warcraft. There's no sort of funny business or however or but or actually going on here. I genuinely mean that. I don't think new players to World of Warcraft should touch retail. But I do think they should play World of Warcraft. Now, I understand that you can't have an opinion on anything to do with World of Warcraft without first explaining your credentials, your ability to talk about the game. I've played WoW retail since vanilla. I currently main a Devastation Evoker. I play a lot of Discipline Priest, play a little bit of Mage. Favourite colour is purple. I raid. I do Mythic Plus. I touch very little else the game has to offer. Care very little for any content that isn't in an instance. And as far as I know, there is a plot. So, why do I think that this game that I've spent the vast majority of my adult life playing in some capacity is not for you? Prospective new player. Well, that's because it sucks to be a new player in retail World of Warcraft. That footage I showed you earlier of our Ret Paladin friend, we'll come back to that. They're new to retail WoW though. They're not new to MMORPGs and they're not a stupid person. In fact, they're very pleasant to be around and they're pretty switched on when it comes to video games in general. Yet, they were doing something fundamentally incorrect when it comes to playing a Retribution Paladin, a class I referred to earlier as incredibly easy to pick up and play. See, one of the problems that they had with the class was that they were getting frustrated at being bad at it. That footage is from them trying to learn it, to improve at it, to stop being bad at it. But nevertheless, the frustration was there. And I get it, no one likes being bad at something. But what baffled me was why they were frustrated at all at being bad at something in a video game they had quite literally just started playing in the last couple of months. More important than that, why was this person spending their time in a brand new world in front of a target dummy instead of going on a cool adventure? How do they reach the point that most players genuinely don't? Now, I'm not here to disparage sitting down and working out your rotation and things like that. I do it extensively and I experiment a lot. I've played DPS classes for a long time because part of what I find enjoyment in is working that sort of thing out. But then I started thinking about when I first started playing Final Fantasy XIV during the latter half of the Stormblood expansion. I made my character, who is the correct warrior of light, and started my journey as a female Midlander with a penchant for thaumaturgy. I'd graduated to become a black mage, and sure, I spent a bit of time figuring out how it worked, but a large part of the experience was, I am a cool black mage going on a fun journey to save the world and everything is really gay and I like that. Eventually, I would tip my hat into savage raiding and things like that, but I played the game for over 18 months by that point. My first savage raid was Eden in Shadowbringers. I don't play 14 anymore because Endwalker was a satisfying conclusion and Dawntrail didn't hit the mark for me, but let's get away from the actual point. Why was I able to have that experience in 14, completely unaware for the biggest time that a damage meter was even a thing that I could have, never mind how best to optimize my ley lines and movement as a black mage to output as much damage as possible when I was doing E1S? And it's because I went into it on my own. Setting aside, for a moment, that Final Fantasy XIV was, and still is, Babby's first MMORPG in a lot of ways, the real secret is that I just let the game exist as it is and took it at the pace it had set for me. I'm an outlier in this situation. The vast majority of people who pick up a new MMORPG do so because they have a friend or a partner or a community that suggests they give it a go, which is wonderful and important to the continued growth of these games. New players to old school RuneScape are a delight for long-time players because new players what grow an MMORPG, and I think more than any other community, OSRS players really understand that. Ultimately, new players are really the single most important thing that an MMO can cater to, because without them, growth stops. No growth means no money. No money means no content for Dick McLarge-Huge to be able to do as the huge endgame raider that they really are.
We're MC Raiders.
So, back to our Paladin friend, who I realise I haven't provided a name for up to this point. So let's say Mo. Mo had picked up WoW at the behest of their partner and community that they were both part of. They enjoyed WoW a lot, but had been caught in a trap of comparison and bad advice. See, one of the first pieces of advice that was given when they shared that footage I showed you was this. If they want to get good, go on the class Discord and read up on things. They can't expect to be told everything by people in-game because we either assume everyone knows some things or we don't play the class so don't know ourselves. So hang on. This person is playing a brand new game and they're spending time in this gigantic world hitting a target dummy, and now some genuine advice they're being given is go read what a bunch of people on Discord have to say. I don't mean any disrespect to people that frequent class Discords for World of Warcraft, but make no mistake, the people that frequent class Discords for World of Warcraft are dickheads. This is horrible advice for someone new to the class, never mind new to the game. There is a place for class Discords, I use them myself, but I'm trying to optimize my shit. I'm not playing the same game as someone brand new. I and many others are operating in a completely different atmosphere to a new player. In short,
I may suck for an NBA player. Like, those guys are pretty good, but I don't suck compared to you. Like, you suck compared to me.
The thing is, though, is the game conditioning a new player towards these things? Well, I leveled a new character from scratch as part of putting this whole thing together. I've not leveled a character from scratch since who knows when, and frankly, I found the entire thing repulsive. But I did it anyway. Some caveats for this. I know my way around the game, first of all. Second of all, I refuse to use the default UI because, as far as I'm concerned, what you're seeing in the footage here is what the main game has looked like to me since Wrath of the Lich King was original content. Third, my main priority was doing whatever the game told me to do, which meant I had a bit of unlearning to do, as it happens, because the game sucks at helping you play it. Say hello to my new druid. I picked the druid because it's probably the class I have the least amount of experience with, and, you know, it's all in the spirit of doing new stuff, right? Anyway, I created the coolest elf you've ever seen that isn't of the Blood or Void variety, and because this isn't my first rodeo, I'm given a choice between Exile's Reach and Shadowglen. I found out, in the course of writing this, that a new player isn't given this choice, so it's off to Exile's Reach we go. And the first thing I discover is that my cool elf doesn't look so cool anymore. I like the introduction well enough though, it's simple RPG stuff, but, you know, it's some context and a motivation to get started, so yeah, let's get after it. Turns out that destroying a straw man and talking to a lady is all you need to do to hit level 2. I feel like a true debater in the marketplace of ideas here. Beat up a guy, wish I hadn't turned on tutorial messages in the grand scheme of things, talk to the guy I just beat up, then things take a turn for the cinematic. I have to admit, the opening feeling for this place is pretty cool, but I'm not here to talk about this part of the new player experience, and in actual fact, if I carry on any longer, then it's just going to be clips of me leveling a World of Warcraft character and occasionally chiming in. If I was in the market to do something super cheap like that, I'd just pull up one of those Jimmy videos I mentioned earlier and react to it with biting commentary. I record an example so you could see exactly what it is that you're missing out on there. Yeah, based. Nobody wants that. For what it's worth though, I did level that character because all the stuff I said about wanting to see what the new player experience is like is legitimately true. and let it not be said that I don't do my own research. So, what does Exile's Reach actually teach a new player? Well, it's good for one thing. It teaches how basically every type of quest in modern World of Warcraft works. Given that quests are the thing that a new player is going to be doing for a fair amount of their time in the immediate future playing the game, that makes sense. There was this fun little quest where the game kind of taught me the extreme basics of how a damage rotation might work, or how abilities might interact. So that's good. Actually, that's really good. The thing is, it was 2 abilities, and I didn't really enjoy having to spend an entire minute casting Wrath until I had to Moonfire again. But hey, that's low-level casting in WoW, I suppose. The important thing is that it implanted early on that abilities can and do interact, even if it was an extremely basic version of that. Except, well, this is the last time anything like that gets put in front of you. By the time you're max level, the screen is going to look a little bit different. And fine, this footage is from a mage and not a druid, but I think it's a good visual for getting the idea across. And therein lies the problem. At the beginning, there's this cute little tutorial, but there's nothing between that and the end when you're casting 6 different spells at once and exploding suns at your enemies. There's no build-up. There's nothing outside of the game giving you a new ability every so often, a new talent point, which, well, okay, fine, it isn't exactly Path of Exile, but we're talking about brand new players here. Now, I'm not saying for 1 second that a new player can't figure all this stuff out. The resources are out there, and someone with a mind to learn it all absolutely will. But is that what the new player experience for Retail WoW is? Get to max level as fast as you possibly can, and then have someone say, oh hey, you're new to WoW, that's cool, go stand in a place for half an hour, practice pressing your buttons. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'd probably like, bitch, I'm gonna go read a book or something, miss me with that shit. But this is so ingrained in the modern retail player. How many times have you, or someone you know, started leveling a new class, and before they've even reached level cap, they're asking for a weak aura pack and the best Wowhead guide? My brother in Christ, this is an RPG. Did you sit there when you were playing Baldur's Gate 3 and immediately go to the YouTubes every single time a character so much as breathed in your general direction? Actually, don't answer that. I know some of you absolutely did. Beyond that, though, one of the other things that came up with Mo when they were starting about their first 2 characters was something I think every enlightened WoW player has thought about at some point. The meta pick doesn't matter. Just pick the class that you have the most fun playing. And sure, I like playing Frostmage because I think throwing a frigid people is cool and speaks to me on a primal level, but that's not the right question or statement to be providing someone new to the game. How about, instead, we ask, do they like the world? Do they like the way the game is played? Is hotbar tab target combat something they are comfortable with? And I don't mean we as players either. This is the type of thing that Blizzard should really consider addressing in retail. The truth is, endgame in WoW is not something that most players are going to reach within their first couple of months of playing the game. And it shouldn't be. DPS is the yardstick by which everything in the game is measured. But if someone is doing a Mythic Plus, then they're also going to need to know what their stop is, what people mean by kick, what their dispels are, what kind of utility they bring, what BL means, and everything else in between that. Raiding has a lower barrier to entry because the truth of it is that nothing matters in the lowest raid difficulties, and actually that's a good thing. The way they're designed means that someone new to the game can figure out those basics at their own pace without suddenly having the weight of the world on their shoulders and having deleting their save file be a truly emotional moment in their life. Outside of the general playing of the game that I've described here, there's another complicated element of retail that just isn't ever going to go away and only ever really gets worse. The currency tab. There are currencies that I have no idea about because the only ones that matter to me are Valorstones and crests. I assume someone out there is passionate about empty Kaja-Cola cans or Kej, but a new player isn't going to really know what's relevant and what's not whilst they're being inundated with these things all at once. The fact is that someone new to the game is going to be bad at it. There is going to be a huge amount that they don't know. There's fun to be had in that though. So for fuck's sake, let them be bad and find their own fun. Encourage exploration and experimentation because whether or not any of us want to admit it, at some point we were all just as lost and useless as they are. But the player place is incapable of doing that, so it's up to Blizzard to fill that void. And I'd argue they already have, just not in retail. I don't play WoW Classic. I don't have it installed. I've been through it all and done it, and have no real interest in doing it again. It's slow. It doesn't have the type of content I want to do, and it's full of really weird people who make parse-whores and retail look comparatively chill. But if I was picking up WoW for the first time, right now, Classic is what I'd play. And it's what I'd recommend someone brand new to the game do as well. Regardless of what flavor of Classic that ends up being, there's far more emphasis there on taking your time and figuring out the world and your place in it as a player. It's a lot more of an MMORPG than retail is. Emphasis there on the RPG in particular. Retail has fallen into a good place for people that already play it, but as an introduction to the game, it simply isn't it. There's nothing stopping someone from properly finding their feet in the game in Classic and then migrating to the better version of the game that retail is later on. At least when they get to retail, they'll come into it having won half the battle already, which is whether or not they even want to play WoW at all. If nothing else, they won't be shitting up the LFG tool with their inability to kick a mob. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching. Let me know if you disagree with me, or, don't. I'm not your boss. If I was, I'd be all about getting you to like and subscribe and all that stuff. If you're still not sure what Mo was doing wrong back at the start of this video, I suppose I can tell you. They weren't in melee range, so they weren't actively swinging that massive weapon. As a result, they were missing out on a lot of stuff that Retribution Paladins need to get their work done. I do video game stuff on this channel, I do politics stuff on another channel, and I also stream on Twitch. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you have an enchanted day.